Hi there everyone, Lars here, with my final review for this season of The Dangers in My Heart, brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers, because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And what an incredible ride this has been. This was, I think, just a really great episode to round off everything that has been experienced by the main characters, Ichikawa and Yamada, so far this season. And it's really interesting because if you were to compare this episode to the very first episode, you'd be wondering, wait a second, how did we get here? This is very different from so many other anime rom-coms out there where, honestly, if you watch the very first episode and then you watch the last one within a season, the characters seem to be stuck in the exact same place. There's usually just more drama, more women, because, hey, we've got to always go for that harem trope. Not always, but it's just so common by now that you're kind of expecting it. However, in this case right here, if you look at where Ichikawa was, and where Yamada was, and where they are at the very end, it's rather shocking. So let's talk about exactly how we got here and what's going on in this particular episode that just wraps things up so nicely before we get to Season 2. Remember this, The Dangers in My Heart is all about Ichikawa coming to realize that the persona that he has tried to exude upon everyone in his immediate surroundings, this person that he has aspired to be, is not who he really is. And in this episode, we even get his confession that, yeah, he's been hiding behind this darker, more vengeful, twisted, evil persona because it was his way of coping with the fact that, well, his best friends were going on to another school. He's kind of all by himself in middle school. He doesn't really know how to interact with people. His social skills aren't the best, and he's kind of down on himself. Lots of different elements coming together to convince Ichikawa that he should become someone else. And he consumed this false identity for so long that he became it until meeting Yamada. The dangers that are within Ichikawa's heart is the reality that he's someone else entirely, that he is a considerate good guy, that he is someone who can read the room, he understands the situation, and that he tries to do the right thing. The problem is, and this is where people are like, oh dude, you're so dense. Yeah, we could say that about him, especially when it comes to any kind of situation with Yamada. The thing is that he reads the situation usually very well, but again, because of the identity that he believes that is actually him, prevents him from fully accepting what he is observing with his eyes. And so you have this conflict of character. And honestly, this is about him slowly accepting who he really is, which puts him in a position to be in a relationship with Ana Yamada. And that is where we get at the very end of this episode. That finally, after he's had the chance to go to the New Year's celebration, they're at the shrine, and I love how Yamada prays with him. It was super cute, and how his sister was obviously playing excellent wing woman, making sure that the two of them could get together and share the little Shibu Inu figurines with each other. That was all super cute and fun. But at the heart of this episode, there are a few things that we need to notice right here. Ichikawa wished that things would stay the same going into the new year, which Yamada didn't like because she wants this relationship to progress. She's got her eyes on her little boy right here. She wants this relationship to happen. So she's a little bit upset about that, which he kind of picks up on. And then with his sister, making him relive his middle school years with Yamada and seeing who he once was and coming now to terms with who he believes he is, compared to with the person that he could become. You have three different versions of Ichikawa right there laid out before him. And what he sees is that Yamada is very interested in this younger version of himself. And yeah, sure, he tries to convince himself that no, she's just finding a way to tease me. Oh, she's looking for chi somewhere there in the pictures of our old elementary school yearbook. But the real truth is, no, she is interested in me. I'm interested in her. Oh my, that is scary. And this causes self-reflection. Now, as a quick aside to put in right here, when it comes to writing self-reflection for characters, this is one of the places where you can be so overindulgent as a writer. And I have been there. I have made this mistake so many times, and other accomplished writers have done the same. Brandon Sanderson said that he actually scrapped an entire character because all this character did at the end of the day was just self-reflect on himself. And so as a result, in order to make this character active, he had to combine that character with another character, creating Dalinar Kholin, one of the most awesome characters in epic fantasy. But it is so easy to just have a character over and over and over again contemplate, what's happening with my life now? Where am I? Who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? It is so easy to overindulge in this aspect of writing. And I have to give props to the creators for not allowing Ichikawa to become overindulgent with this. We have seen moments of introspection throughout the series as he's talked about himself and as he realizes different things that Yamada is awakening within him and as he's realizing certain situations. But here in this episode, we finally have a true moment of self-reflection for Ichikawa as he realizes, this is why I created this darker persona, why I assumed the role of the villain in my class, why I pushed everyone away, is because I was scared, because I felt inadequate, because I felt like I couldn't belong, I felt like I didn't deserve, I felt like I couldn't be. Oh, I now need to overcome these issues if I wish to become a guy that can be with Yamada. That is what is at the heart of this episode. And if you think about that, and then you go back to all of the different moments throughout the series thus far, each episode has provided specific goalposts, beginning with Ichikawa hurling his bike at Pushy Senpai to break him apart from Yamada, even going so far as to confront the librarian and one of his teachers, and then also just all of the different adventures that he's been on with Yamada, from going to the career day field trip, to going shopping, to going on the date that wasn't actually a date. All of these different things, all these different moments are goalposts, or I should say mile markers, that lead us to this moment and help us then to realize what kind of development Ichikawa's gone through. And he himself hasn't realized it up until this point where he now finally sees who he once was, who he is now, and who he could become. Now, let's also consider Yamada right here. What's her story? Yes, The Dangers in My Heart is primarily told from the perspective of Ichikawa. It is his story. But if we're paying attention, there's been a whole lot of development for Yamada as well. And a lot of it comes within the realms of how we are revealed certain aspects of who she is, that she's not just some tall, beautiful model dunce. She is very aware. She's self-aware. She's able to read a situation with her friends and with others pretty well. Ichikawa makes her fluster, which causes her to do silly, stupid things. And yes, she loves her food. By golly, she loves those snacks, and she's willing to do anything for those snacks. And where we get to see some of the development in her character is how she's willing, for the sake of her relationship with Ichikawa, to cut back on some of the teasing. She's willing to cut back on the snacks. She's willing to make sacrifices. And that says a lot for a character, because a relationship is give and take. There's some things that you have to give up in order to be happy with the person that you're with. The thing is, are you giving up too much? That's one of those little hard lines to draw right there. And what I love about Yamada is that she doesn't give up everything. No, she only gives up a third of her snacks. And that teasing she quickly adopts into full-on flirting. And what's fun watching Yamada is how she breaks so many conventions of Japanese societal wisdom in order to get the point across to this angsty little boy that she likes him. And that's so fun and refreshing to see. But also, we should note, it takes a lot of courage for her. And Yamada really shows an arc of courage, as she shows way more of herself to more people, and especially to Ichikawa. It takes a lot to bare your heart out to other people, and by the end, heck, she's holding hands with him in the open, she's hugging him, where everyone can see. There are windows right there. No, she doesn't care at this point anymore. She is a courageous girl who knows what she wants, and she's going for it. which again in so many rom-coms, especially in anime, you just don't see the girl usually go that far. That's like the end game for a shoujo anime. That's the end game for a shonen story 5-6 seasons in, that the girl finally awakens that inner desire and courage and power within. Heck, we are only 12 episodes in. We're barely getting into the much larger story for the Dangers in My Heart, and Yamada is already a greater heroine in the where it counts than so many other rom-com girls or even action girls within anime and manga. And that's something that I think should not be discounted for who she is. Yes, she's not going and saving the world. No, she is not stealing away the heart of her beau. Instead, she is being herself. One of the hardest things for any teenager, and especially a teenage girl, to do. And that, to me, is impressive. At the end of the day, again, this is just what is really at the heart of this story, of the Dangers in My Heart, is for teenagers to experience very real moments combined with that fantasy wish fulfillment that's here and there. It's a very delicate balance to show how these teenagers come to learn who they are, how they grow and mature, and how this romance that seems like it shouldn't be, especially when you look at the beginning of the story. Oh my gosh, no way should these characters get together. That's just, ugh. And yet it works because of how these characters learn and grow through their experiences by transitioning from shy, awkward acquaintances who lightly know each other to becoming friends, to developing feelings for each other, to a full-on crush, and yet at the same time developing a very strong basis for friendship. If you were to rip away the romance that Yamada and Ichikawa have, you would have a very solid friendship between these two characters. And that is a beautiful thing to see. You see that they act like friends, but there's also the flirting there, which lets us know where this relationship is going to go. This series is incredibly well written, and it's an incredible depiction of what I would say is a very healthy teenage relationship, of friendship, of romance. There's so much here within the story that should and needs to be praised. And this episode is just the cherry on the top as we see Ichikawa and Yamada spend New Year's together, come to understand each other a little bit better, get put into some really awkward situations thanks to the wing woman's sister, and then also Ichikawa trying to hide the fact that he's been looking at pictures, shall we say. Oh, that's a little bit awkward right there. And yet it leads to them finally having a very honest, open moment with each other, with Yamada there to help Ichikawa as he comes back to school. Still injured, still has a broken arm, he needs help. She's there to guide him on into the school, to help him get situated and everything. And they're finally at a point in their relationship where they can be open and honest with each other, with Ichikawa bearing his heart out about who he is and why he is that way to Yamada, Yamada accepting that, moving forward with him, and you just got that amazing hug right there. Yes, it's a romantic moment, but it's also a very healing moment for both of these characters, setting aside a lot of the misunderstandings, misconceptions, and mistakes that they have made along the way to this point. This is where the friendship is solidified between the two of them, and it is where it's now very openly stated romance is about to begin. This is where Ichikawa now has to start working himself out of the friend zone. At least that's where, again, he thinks he is. It's definitely not where he's at, but that's where he thinks he is, and now is to graduate to becoming a prospective boyfriend for Yamada. Unbeknownst to him, because of his headspace, Yamada already sees him that way, and she really wants this relationship to work out. In any case, that healing hug, this beautiful moment between the two of them, provides them a kind of glow that as they walk by Moe, Moe's like, "Did you two do it?" That is just such a great moment, again, solidifying that Moe is paying very close attention to what's going on. Moe knows what's happening. She's in this game. She's doing her own thing. Let the girl cook. But there's also winks and nods to the audience about where this relationship between Ichikawa and Yamada is going. And I'm really excited for Season 2 because we're going to get into some fun stuff. Buckle up for some hilarious awkwardness, yet more great fluff, and just lots of smiles as you watch this romance continue to grow from this point onwards. This was, I would argue, a perfect season for a good rom-com. Now then, granted, there's plenty of other ways that you can tell a romantic comedy, whether it be with a harem or still just between two characters, with all the misunderstandings, the tropes, the whatnot, the flirting, the mistakes, the miscommunications, etc. There's so many ways that you can tell a rom-com that this is not the one way to tell it. If everyone told their rom-coms the same way as The Dangers in My Heart, it would get boring. But in a sea of so many tried and true tropes where you already seem to know what you're going to get, it's great to have these introspective, honest, healthy, courageous teenagers exploring what it means to be friends and to fall in love. And that's really powerful, really rewarding storytelling, in my personal opinion. I don't know what I'm going to do now that this series has come to a conclusion until season 2. What am I going to watch next? Well, if you want to know what we might be watching next, Scott and I are going to be releasing a video here really soon for the upcoming season of anime, doing reviews based on the first 5 chapters of the manga, all of the manga that we could get our hands on that are being adapted into anime this upcoming season. Make sure that you have clicked the subscribe bell click the subscribe tab and then rung the bell. There we go. That's the proper order in order to receive the notification for when that video drops, because that one's going to be fun right there. These are always really great to do these reviews with each other and discuss our knowledge, our impressions, our opinions on the various manga and seeing where that takes us. And I'll tell you this right now, sometimes we are surprised. The anime can really build on the manga. For A Heavenly Delusion, I wasn't a fan of the manga for the first 5 chapters. Watched the first episode of the anime, sold on it, binge read the manga, blown away. Heavenly Delusion is a fantastic anime. Not meant for children, but definitely worth the watch if you are within the more mature teenage to adult audience. But with all that being said, I'm now getting a little bit carried away from the topic of this video, which was The Dangers in My Heart. If you've enjoyed our reviews of The Dangers in My Heart, please let me know in the comments below. And let me know what else you would like to see us do in terms of reviews for anime, or if you would like us to dive into more concise elements of writing a rom-com. We could definitely do a video on that. We want to hear from you guys because your feedback is what helps us learn and grow and become better YouTubers. In any case, thank you for joining us on this adventure that we call writing, and until the next video, y'all, tschüss.